All right, so we are ready to dive in to this training. So again, this training is all going to have to do with using DocuSign within Command and how we can really get the most out of DocuSign to basically start using it instead of .loop, which is the program we used to get e-signatures in the past. Okay, so I've kind of got this presentation broken out into 5 main parts with a 6th kind of bonus part that we'll get to here at the end. So this whole, before I really dive into the details of this, I just want to take a second and put it in context, since I know everyone on this call is, not everyone has had experience with DocuSign before. So just to kind of give you some context here, DocuSign, the purpose of DocuSign, why we use it, is to have folks out there be able to sign things electronically, where we can just send them a PDF or some kind of a document. They click to sign it, and then we get a notification that they signed it. And then we have a legal document that they've signed off on that we're able to use moving forward. So in the past, we used to use .loop. Now we use DocuSign. And it's just a really great way to be able to just send something to anyone, anywhere, at any time, and enable them to just sign it from the comfort of their own home. They could sign it on their cell phone, their computer, anything like that. So the first step in really going down this path of using DocuSign, getting the most out of it through Command, is to create an opportunity on a contact record. Okay, so I'm really starting from scratch here. So in today's class, I'm going to walk through an example of what it looks like to use a buyer instead of a listing. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and open up Command, and I'm going to create a fake contact record that we're going to work with today. So example record, I'm going to click create, and then I will open up. Sometimes when you create one, you have to refresh it in order to see it appear at the top. So I've just created that fake contact record. I'm going to click it. And now I'm going to go over here to opportunities, right next to the word timeline here on the top right. Click opportunities, and I'm going to click create opportunity. And I'm going to change the opportunity type to be a buyer. All right. Because again, in today's example, we're going to pretend that we're representing a buyer in a transaction. So I'm going to change it to buyer. Not going to need to change much else here. This is pretty self-explanatory. You just need the red fields filled in. Those are the required ones. So I'm going to put 3% commission rate, and I will create the opportunity. Okay. So now you can see this little 1 here indicating that this contact record has 1 opportunity associated with it. And we're able to go to that opportunity record by either clicking on this opportunity record right here on this contact record, or we can click opportunities over here. And if you don't know what these icons mean, you can just click this little red box in the top left. It'll expand it so that you're able to read these, and we'll go to opportunities. And if we go to buyers right here, we should see a little 1, cultivate 1. And here we are. This is the one we just created. So I'm going to open this opportunity record, and we'll take it from there. So that's the first step, is just creating an opportunity on a contact record. Second step is to open the opportunity in Command. Okay. So we're going to open the opportunity record, which we just did. Then we're going to prepare the documents for this opportunity. Okay. So there's a bunch of tabs here on this opportunity record. We have details, buyer profile, all of these different things. For our purposes here today, we're going to want to focus on documents, because obviously with DocuSign, we're focusing on getting different documents signed. So our first step now will be to click the Start a Transaction button. Okay, so it's this one. Now, if you don't see this button, then that means you're still going to need to connect your DocuSign account. Okay, and in order to do that, you're going to click on your name up here in the top right, and then you'll click Settings. And when you click Settings, you'll just need to scroll down a bit to find where DocuSign is. Let's see, where is it? DocuSign okay, right at the top. So obviously for me, I already have it connected, but if you have not done this step, this is really going to be your first step. You need to connect DocuSign through command, and you do that by just clicking connect account here, and then it'll kind of walk you through the steps. So just be sure to connect DocuSign through command. You don't want to go to DocuSign's website first. You want to connect it through command in this way that I'm showing you, okay? So assuming you've done that, you're going to be able to see this button here, start a transaction, okay? So you'll click start a transaction, and that will take you to the DocuSign website where you'll be able to sign in. So I'm going to click start a transaction, then I'm going to click DocuSign. Then that will open up DocuSign, and here is where I'll need to, well, normally it would prompt you to sign in, but I already signed in earlier today, so it's not asking me to sign in. And this takes us to a room, okay? This is what this is called in DocuSign. Back when we used .loop, we would call them loops. Well, all a loop is a room in DocuSign lingo. And all a room is kind of like a folder, right? It's a place where you can keep all of your documents pertaining to one particular transaction all in the same place, okay? So we just created this room for this opportunity by clicking start a transaction, okay? So that's the second step, opening that opportunity in command and then bringing it into the DocuSign room. So the third step is really where we get into kind of the nuts and bolts of all of this. So this is where we actually set up the documents in DocuSign. So what we're going to want to do first is walk through the tabs from left to right, okay? So we have a details tab, documents, people, envelopes, messages, and history. So like I just said, we want to go left to right. So we start on the details tab of this, in this room, okay? So on the details tab, I have a couple key points I want to go over here. You need to manually enter the information on this details tab since it doesn't really pull straight from command. This might work sometimes, but for the most part, I've found it doesn't really work that well. So you're going to want to manually enter as much information as you can on the details tab of this room, because the more info you fill in here, the more info will auto-fill into the documents that you're having folks sign. So you really do need to enter it here first. So in order to edit the details of this particular record here, you're going to click edit in the top here. And now we're able to click in here and change anything around. So anything that has the red asterisk is required. So we can change the name if we want. I'm just going to leave it like that since this is just an example. And we will go ahead and use an address here. So we'll just do 123 Main Street, Springfield, Missouri. Okay. And we'll just do, I don't know, 65804. Okay. We can add offer details if we want. I'm not going to bother adding any of these right now, but you might want to add them in your own transaction because, again, remember, the more information you add on this details tab, the more information is going to automatically be inputted into the documents that you're using, okay? So we have high bid confirmation, closing details, additional information, property details. Again, you can put that in if you want, but for today's example, I'm just going to enter information for the location. And we have seller 1 here on the top right, seller 2 a little further down, listing agent 1, listing agent 2, and then we have the buyer information much further down on the right-hand side. So this is what I'm going to want to enter for our example today here. So I'll just do fake name, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, and we'll do, we'll just do an email address of mine, tturkel89@gmail.com. That's an older email that I used to use that I can still access. I'll do 1, 2, 3, 4 Main Street, Springfield, Missouri, 65804. And I'll just leave it as one buyer for today. Of course, if you wanted to, you could add another buyer here, but for today's example, I don't think it'll be really necessary for us to add another buyer. And then for buyer agent, so this is where you would put your information in. So I will add my information. I'll put my KW email address right there. Do Springfield. Select state. Huh, that's weird. Not letting me select a state there. I'm not sure why that's happening. Oh, you got to select the country first. That's why. Okay. Missouri 65804. Okay. And then we can add another buyer's agent if we want. So far we've only entered information for the location of the property that's going to be going under contract here, and then the buyer's contact information right here, as well as the buyer's agent, which is my own information. Okay. So location, buyers 1 and 2. You know what? I'm just going to add another buyer real quick. I think now that I think about it, it probably is going to make the example a little bit easier to understand. Mickey Mouse is our second buyer. Their email address, I'll just put another super old email of mine in case we need to access that later. Springfield, whatever, Indiana, it really doesn't matter. 65804. Okay. So now we've entered in the information on the details tab that we'll need. Okay. So now we're going to go over to the documents tab, which is really where we get into the core part of what we want to go over here today. So I'm going to click save on the bottom right here, and all of that information, the room has been updated with all of the details that we just entered into it. So now I'm going to click documents. Again, we're going left to right here. So I'll click documents. So obviously this room begins with no documents inside of it. Okay. So what we want to first do is click the add button. Okay. So I'm going to click add, and then we're going to click DocuSign Forms right here. Then we're going to choose DocuSign Forms Group. Okay, it defaults to DocuSign Forms Library. This is a key step. We don't really want to look in the library. The library has literally every form out there that we can possibly use, and it's not organized. We've organized these forms for you into different groups. So you want to be sure to remember to click DocuSign Forms Group. Then we have all of these different quote unquote groups set up for everyone to kind of have all of our documents that we need more easily accessible. They're more organized, right? So if you are working with a standard residential buyer, then if you click this, it's going to bring up all of the documents that you typically need when you're working with a standard residential buyer. And the same logic applies to all of these other ones. Okay, if you're working with, you're going to list the property, then just click this one, and it's going to show you all of the documents, or pretty much all of the documents you're going to be required to use. And some are conditionally required based on certain variables that go into a given equation or a given transaction. But for today, we're just going to click Common Residential Buyer Documents. All right. So now we'll select the documents that we want in the appropriate group, and then we'll add them to the room. And then we'll click on one of the documents in the room to edit it. So let's go ahead and do the measurement disclaimer, and we'll do, maybe we can do maybe the residential or the inspection providers. I don't know, just as a quick example. Obviously, you'd want to use more documents because compliance requires us to use certain documents, and that's a whole other class. But for today, let's just say these are the only two that we need. So we're going to click Add. And then you'll see that it brings those two forms, they're called, into the room, right? There's all this new lingo with DocuSign. So these are technically considered forms that we're able to use here, okay? So in order to edit one of these documents, we need to click on it. So let's say we'll click on this one first, inspection providers. All right. Once you've filled in the documents, you're going to be able to select each document by clicking in the upper left-hand corner of them. And then once you've selected them, you're going to be able to choose what you want to do with them. But before we get to that, we actually want to take a look at it, make sure everything is auto-filling correctly. So it looks like it brought in the address that we entered in the details tab right into it, which is exactly what we wanted. And so far, this one looks fine to me. I don't think I want to edit anything on this one. Okay. Now you might be thinking, oh, wait, what about the buyer signature here and the date? So you don't have to worry about that yet. Okay. This is going to be a step that we'll focus on a little bit later. So like I was just showing you, once you open the document, various fields are going to autofill based on what you entered in the details tab earlier. And during this step, we're really just filling in some of the fields, right? When we package it all together in a later step, that's when you're actually going to add the other boxes, like the signature field and different things like that, okay? So for our purposes right now, it looks like this document is looking like it should. So we're good to go for that part. And then like I said before, once you've filled in the documents, select each one by clicking in the upper left-hand corner of them. So let's say this one looks good. I'm going to save and close it. This was the inspection providers. So you see here this little circle on the top. If I move my mouse over this, I'm going to click this little circle to select it. Now it has a check mark there. Then once they're selected, you can choose what you want to do with them. Okay, so here are all of the options. You can copy that document you just selected. You can copy it. You see my mouse over here. You can copy it. You can move it to another area, another room, another folder in this room. You can email that document before it's been signed or anything like that if you wanted to. You can DocuSign it, which is the most important one for us. You can archive it or you can unarchive it, okay? So those are the options that we have when we select a form in a DocuSign room. So go ahead and select the documents you want to have signed, and then you're going to click DocuSign. So let's just say we're just working with this one. We don't have to get complicated and work with more than one at once, although in practice, you probably will want to have all of the documents selected that you're going to be using. So we have this one selected, so we're going to click DocuSign here, the little pen at the top. This is going to package whatever documents you wanted to have DocuSigned together and create an envelope for us to send our client the documents. Okay, so when I clicked that DocuSign button, it brings up the envelope details. So think of it like you have all of your forms in this room, and maybe some of them are ready to have signed, some of them aren't. So you check the ones, you select the ones that you want to have signed, and then you click DocuSign. It's going to package all of those forms, those documents, into an envelope, it's called in DocuSign lingo. And that's what we're going to walk through here. We're going to edit the envelope details. And just think of it like the package we're putting all these forms into to send off to the client to sign. Okay, so set up the envelope. So the envelope name. So you can just name it something like this. Please DocuSign 123 Main Street. All right, please, I like to just put the address here. Please DocuSign, please DocuSign 123 Main Street. Then you're going to verify that you have all of the correct documents you want to send to a client in the envelope. Okay, so right now it's showing just the inspection providers one, which is exactly what I expected. But if I wanted to maybe add another one from the room, I can still add that measurement disclaimer if I wanted to. Okay, so right here we're verifying that we have the correct forms in this envelope that we're going to send out to the client or whoever we need to send it to. The next step in editing the envelope is to add recipients, okay? So that's this part right here. Add recipients to the envelope. As the sender, you automatically receive a copy of the completed envelope. So when you click Add Recipient, there's a few different options. Pre-tagged roles, room participants, or email address. Okay, so it's best, typically, you're just gonna wanna add pre-tagged roles because that'll match with what the contract says it should be and what the person is. And typically it's just, I honestly just recommend using pre-tagged roles because room participants doesn't always match the fields within the form that you're gonna have the person sign. So you're typically just best off going with pre-tagged roles. So I'm gonna click that one, pre-tagged roles. Next, you're gonna select the appropriate pre-tagged roles based on who you want to sign the document. Okay, so buyer agent and buyer one for this context here, for this example rather. So we'll select buyer one and we'll make that fake name. That was the buyer one. And then we can, oh, so this is I'm glad I'm using this as an example. If you'll see here, this does not give any other pre-tagged role options other than buyer one and buyer two. And that's because on this inspection provider's form, those are the only fields that are meant to be filled out by the buyer one and buyer two, right? If I had, let's say I had the I don't know, MLS detail sheet or something, and I needed to have the buyer initial that, or no, that's not a good example. Let's say we had the contract and I needed to sign it as the buyer's agent. Well, DocuSign knows that the buyer's agent is going to be one of the folks who needs to sign that form, and they will be one of the options you can choose here for one of the pre-tagged roles for that particular form. But again, with inspection providers, only buyers one and two can potentially sign it. You know, there's no field for the buyer's agent to sign. So we're just gonna set it up like that. Buyer one, fake name. That's the buyer one that we're gonna want to send it to. So we'll do add selected. And you know what? Let me just throw in the other buyer as well. We'll do buyer two, Mickey Mouse. Add selected. Okay. So once you select who you want to sign, then you can change the order in which they sign by changing the numbers in the boxes on the left of each person, right? So if they all say one, that means that everyone gets to sign at the same time. So here's what I mean here. You see the one here and one here. In DocuSign, we're able to change this around. So if I were not to change this, then fake name and Mickey Mouse would both get this at the same exact time. But if I wanted Mickey Mouse to only be able to sign it once fake name signed it, then I would add a 2. And then it wouldn't be sent over to Mickey Mouse until fake name signed it. So it's kind of a cool way in which we're able to control how these things are sent out to folks. So I'll just leave it like this. Buyer 1 will have to sign, and then buyer 2 will have to sign. Okay, so now we've added the recipients in setting up the envelope for this room. Add a message to all recipients. So this is the part you'll need to fill out, which will change how the email will come through to whoever you're sending it to. Okay, so please DocuSign 123 Main Street. You know, you can say whatever you want there. Hi, Mickey, or no, hi, Fake and Mickey. Please DocuSign these. You know what? Folks may not even know what DocuSign means, so you might just want to say, please sign these documents at your earliest convenience. Thanks. You can just do something simple like that. Okay. Then you'll click Next. And once you click Next, you're going to be brought to the page that enables you to adjust all of the fields on the document that you're sending if you need to. So I'm going to click Next on the top now that I've prepared the envelope. And this brings you into really the main part of DocuSign. This is really where we're able to do quite a few different things. So it puts the document square in the middle, and there's a few things that I want to walk through here. The first thing you need to understand is that it's color-coded for each person who needs to sign the document. So you're actually able to view it as each person. Okay, so you see this is yellow for buyer 1 and blue for buyer 2. Well, in the top left here, the yellow one is for fake name, and blue is for Mickey Mouse. Okay, so you're able to see kind of what it would look like from each person's perspective. Now, with this document, there's not really too much to it, so it's going to look the same. But if you wanted to see what it'll look like from their perspectives, then you're just going to change who you're looking, the person you're looking at it through the eyes of up here on the top left. Now you can drag and drop any of the fields on the left into the document to customize it as needed. So fortunately, this one automatically has the signature field and the date signed field going exactly where it should be. And I'd like to think that'll happen for most of the documents we're using here. But there are going to be times when you need to add additional fields, right? Maybe you need to add a checkbox. So you just click checkbox, you drag it over, and obviously you wouldn't do exactly what I'm doing right here, but just as an example, let's say you wanted to put the checkbox there, and then let's say you wanted to add initials right there. Again, we're doing this for Mickey Mouse. Let's say we wanted to also do this for fake name. Well, we can do initials for just them as well. And let's say we wanted to just add some text, right? Maybe we needed to write something in a given field. Well, you can drop the text box over there, and you're able to just say, hey, here's some details. Now, you see how it's kind of formatting weird. I didn't want it to go to the next line. You're able to just click the box and kind of drag it out and just, you know, type whatever it is you need to type, click off of it, and it'll be right there, okay? So you're able to drag all of these types of fields onto it, the dates and the signatures and the initials, all of those things. This is the point in which you do that. But ideally, a lot of these things are going to be auto-filled for you in the first place. So, so that's how that part works. And then once you have everything set as you want it to be set, then you're able to click Recipient Preview in the top right to make sure that everything looks correct for each person signing. So this is the button right here, Recipient Preview. So if we're viewing as fake name, then this is what they're going to see, okay? They're not going to see that other initial box because that was for Mickey Mouse in this example. They'll still see the text and they'll still see their signature field, but they're not going to see the other person's signature field. So it's a pretty cool feature of DocuSign, in my opinion, because this is a live example of what it'll look like when you send it to them. If you're looking at it, if you're viewing as whoever you want to view as. So when they open it, they're going to see a little start button here. So you tell them, all right, well, when you get this, you're going to need to click start in the top left. So you click start, fill in initial. Okay, initial here. So just click it to initial. Okay, required sign here. Okay, I'm going to click to sign. Got the signature right there. And that's weird. What's going on here? Huh, something weird's happening with this text box. I'm not sure why that happened. You know what, let's back out and remove that text box. I'm not sure, something funky is going on with that. Okay, so you click start, initial there, sign there. And then you'd click finish. Maybe I think you're not able to click finish here because this is just an example. You're not actually signing it on their behalf. You're just kind of previewing it, seeing what it would look like if they were actually doing it themselves. So once they would click finish, then it would be done once they completed the required fields on that document. Another thing to point out here is that you're able to preview this from different formats. So if they were on a tablet, this is what it would look like. And if they were on their phone, this is what it would look like. And if they were on their computer, it would look like this. Okay. All right. So now that we've previewed it, everything looks exactly like how we'd like it to look. We're going to click send. Okay. So now we're brought back into this room. Okay. And now you see in the envelopes tab of this room, we have this envelope that we just created with that single document. And obviously we can see that we're waiting for others to sign whatever documents were in that envelope. Okay. So you can see there's one document in this envelope and there's two people that are associated with this document or this envelope rather. Okay. So those are the steps involved in setting up the documents in DocuSign. Now we're going to move on to the fourth big step here, which is actually signing the documents. So let's go ahead and log into the client's email, it's the fake name, and sign the document. So I'm going to go ahead and sign into this email address on my other screen here real quick. I'm gonna just bear with me here. Okay. You know what? I'm having trouble signing in to that email account. I'm sorry about that. Just give me 1 second here. Why is this not signing in? Huh. All right, I have an idea. I'm not sure why it's not letting me sign into the Gmail account for that. So because I can sign it on my phone, I'm just going to sign it real quick on my phone, and then I will sign the other one for Mickey Mouse on the computer so you can see what it looks like. So just give me 1 sec here. Okay, so I just signed it through the first buyer. Now I'm going to log into the second buyer's email account. Okay. All right, sorry about that little hiccup. So this is what it'll look like when they open it on their end. So it'll say, the agent sent you a document to review and sign. And then you'll see the message that you included right there. Okay, so they'll click review document. It might ask them to enable the browser to share their location, so they can click allow. The first thing they'll need to do is click this box. They need to agree to give the right to actually be able to sign these electronic documents. So they click that, they click continue, click start. Okay, so the first thing they'll need to initial is right here. What's cool is that you can already see that buyer one initialed right over here. So I'll click initial there. Now it'll give them an option. They can have it signed like this, or they can even draw it out. They can draw their name if they want, or they can upload their signature. So I'm just going to use this default one, adopt and sign. And as soon as you adopt and sign, it'll automatically bring you to the next field, which honestly can sometimes get a little annoying if you want to read things first before you sign the next line. So if they need to, they can always just scroll back up to read whatever DocuSign may have skipped over. So then they'll just click to sign that next field. They'll click finish. And then it's going to bring up this page that is a little confusing. Just tell them when you click finish, just click no thanks. This is asking them to sign up for a free DocuSign account, which they can do if they want, but it might just not be necessary for a lot of folks. So I'm just going to click no thanks here. You're all done. You'll receive a copy once everyone has signed. Okay. All right, so we logged into the client's email and signed the document. Then we'll go back into DocuSign and go to the History tab to see what was signed. So this is a pretty cool feature of DocuSign, right? If we click the History tab here in this room we've been working out of, I'm going to refresh the page. Okay, so you're able to see everything that happened in this room down to the minute. So at 1:07 p.m., this room was created. Okay, a couple things automatically happened here at 1:07. The room details changed, the room details changed, the details changed. Then the envelope was created at 1:19 p.m. So you're able to see every single thing that happened. And then you're able to see, oh, it was signed by that person, and it was signed by that person. And then once the second person signed it, it was completed at 1:37 p.m. So you're able to see exactly what's going on at any point in time to see, you know, where things stand in terms of a document being signed. Okay. So we already logged into the email and signed the document. Okay. So now that we've signed the documents, the question comes, all right, you know, how do we get that back into command? We've used DocuSign for what we need to use it for. So now what happens? Well, that brings us to the fifth and final step. Now we need to bring these documents that we just got signed from DocuSign into command. Okay. So let's go back into command, and we're going to open the opportunities applet in command and navigate to the documents tab of the appropriate opportunity. So again, I'll go, let's say we're logging back into command. We'll go to opportunities, which is this handshake here. And then we're going to go back to this opportunity we've been working with under buyers. We have this opportunity right here, the example record. Then we're going to go back over to documents. Okay. Now we're going to click add a file for the first document and choose DocuSign as the source of the documents. Now, one thing I want to note is that you do need to pick a checklist type first. Okay. You're either going to be doing residential or commercial. So before you have the placeholders show up here, you need to click, for most of us, it's just going to be clicking residential. And then you're going to see all of these placeholders show up for all of the different documents we'll need. And that breaks it down into three main sections. For a residential real estate transaction, we need these three documents are all required under the consultation part. Under contract, a lot of these are required documents, but some are conditionally required. Okay. And then under closed, we have three more that are required. So in theory, we can bring documents from wherever we want and fill in each of these rows with the appropriate document, right? We just click add a file, and we can just manually drag things in if we wanted. If we had, you know, maybe somebody signed something with pen and paper, and they, you know, and then you scanned it, and you're like, all right, how do I get this into the correct spot? You're just going to go to the correct placeholder here, is what I like to think of them as, add file, manual, and you can just drag and drop or browse on your computer to get to that document that you scanned. And then you can just upload it into that placeholder. But obviously for today's class, we're talking about DocuSign. So you're going to click DocuSign in the middle. Okay. So this is the part that's pretty important here. Okay. Once we choose DocuSign, we're going to select the appropriate file and assign it to that particular document placeholder. So you might think, hey, in the beginning, Dan only added 2 documents to the to that room, right? Why are 4 documents in here? There were only 2 documents, right? If I go to the Documents tab here now, I'm going to see 4 documents. So the question comes, you know, where did all of these come from? There were only 2. So keep in mind, earlier I mentioned when you add DocuSign documents into this in the way I showed earlier, they're going to come in as forms. This is a form. This is a form. These are the original documents. So even though I edited this inspection providers one, if I were to click that, it's not, it is not going to show the signatures here because this is basically just a template, okay? This never really changes. You can edit these and have them signed, and when you do, it creates a new signed document in the room. You can see that, and it's kind of zoom in. You see how it says it has this little signed icon here? So that was created out of this one. Oops. That signed document was created out of the form that we've used in the past. So that explains this third one, but then what is this fourth one? Well, every time you have something signed in DocuSign, it creates a certification, right? A certificate of completion. And it gives you all these fancy details to you know, verify anything you'd want to verify about this particular document and the way it was signed. So you can see for the first signer, I had my name there, shows the signature, it shows when it was sent, when it was viewed, when it was signed down to the second. It shows the IP address of the person. I mean, it shows like as much as you'd ever want to know and more. And this happens every time you have something signed in DocuSign. There's 5 pages worth of this. So most of the relevant info though is on the first page. So just remember that this PDF is going to be created every time you have a document signed by someone, and you're always working off of forms. And when people sign forms, a new document is created in the room called a signed document, okay? So we'll select the appropriate file and assign it to that particular document placeholder. So here's where you got to be really careful. You need to make sure you're clicking the appropriate document. So for us, we knew we just did the inspection providers one, right? Oh, looks like someone, I just realized the chat is going on here. Sorry if I didn't see this earlier. When you add the text box, it's under a specific room participant's name. Does this mean that they are the only ones that can see that info? Same as checkboxes. It's a good question. You know what? I'm not actually sure about that. I'll have to get back to you about that. If you could just put your email in the chat room, I will definitely follow up with you about that and let you know an answer. What do we need to do with our signature certification forms? They don't need to be assigned in command, right? Correct. They do not need to be used in command. This is just something that DocuSign automatically does for everything that's signed, and it's just kind of a nice security feature. Honestly, that's really what it is. We don't need to bring that anywhere else other than where it already is. Okay. Okay. So for the inspection providers form, we are going to want to select this one because this is the one that has the signed designation on it, right? We have these two, inspection providers and inspection providers signed. This is the one that we want to assign to that particular placeholder because it has the initials and it has the signatures, okay? So I'm going to select that one and I'm going to click assign. Okay. You can preview the file once you assign it by clicking on the blue text. So right here, if we're like, oh man, was that the right one? I just click that and it'll bring it up right here and you're able to see everything that is on that document. So now you're able to just repeat this for all of the required and conditionally required documents. So let's say we brought in a bunch of documents. We did all 3 of these. We did as many of these as we needed to. We assigned each of the documents from DocuSign for each of these placeholders on the opportunity record in command. Let's say we're all set. Then we're able to click Submit to MC at the top, Submit to the Market Center. What this does is it sends all of these versions of all of these documents and all of the placeholders to our compliance team for them to review it and make sure that, you know, we've dotted all our I's, crossed all our T's, everything is done as it was supposed to be done. That's kind of how that works. So I assigned that row or that document right there, and I would click Submit to MC. I'm not going to do that because that would actually submit it to the Market Center and have compliance review it, which, you know, it's not necessary here since this is just an example, but that's what I would do here. Okay. Now, if compliance rejects any of the documents, you can just go back into DocuSign and copy the document into the same room and have the clients DocuSign it again. And then you'll need to just go back to the opportunity record in command and replace the incorrect document, okay? Because, you know, chances are at some point down the road, compliance is going to come back to you and say, hey, you know, you didn't do something correct. Well, this is how you handle that, okay? You're just going to go back into DocuSign. Let's say I needed to redo inspection providers. I would just click it. I would select that, then I would copy it. I'll do active rooms, choose the room we're in, copy. And where did it go? This one. So now we can select it and DocuSign that same one. And this is the one that we're going to edit, right? So let's say we had to, you know, have them put another initial here or something or whatever they asked for. We're able to just copy that initial one and do the whole process all over again, okay? I'm not going to go through that right now for the purposes of time, but that's basically how you would handle that if compliance rejects it. You just copy it back in the DocuSign room and bring in the new one. Okay, so let's say we needed to replace this one. You just click the 3 dots, and if you already submitted it, I think the button changes to say replace. You would just click replace and then find that new document in DocuSign and assign it in this row. But because I didn't submit it to the Market Center yet, it's only giving me these remove and print options. So I could remove it if I wanted to at this point, and then go back to the DocuSign room and add this new one I just created. Now that wouldn't make sense since these two are identical at this point. I haven't edited the copied version yet, but if I did, then I could select that new version, assign it, and now that's the one that I would be able to submit to the Market Center. Okay. So that's pretty much all there is to it, right? You create an opportunity in command, you create a room in DocuSign for that opportunity, you organize all of the documents, you select the ones you need, you send them out, you have them signed through DocuSign, then you go back to the opportunity record and assign each of those placeholders to the document that you've had the person DocuSign. Okay, so that's pretty much the gist of kind of how that all works. So a couple of quick tips here. Sometimes you'll need multiple versions of the same form, right? Like what if you have multiple counteroffers, okay? So in order to do this, you can simply keep reusing and editing the same original form in the room. And every time you send it out to be signed, it'll create a new signed version of it in the room. Because here's the thing, when you're in DocuSign and let's say, oops, what just happened here? Let's just say we wanted to add another inspection provider's form, right? Well, we can't actually do that, okay? If we were to try and add another inspection providers form, I'll show you what happens. Go to group, we'll go to common residential buyer documents and inspection providers. You see it's already checked. So if I needed to add another one of these, I just can't. We're only able to have one of each type of form in a given room, okay? So again, in order to get around this, you can just keep reusing and editing the same original form. And every time you send it out to be signed, it'll create a new signed version of it. So just keep working off the same form and you'll be good to go. You can also create folders within the DocuSign room. Okay, a lot of us used to do this in Dotloop, and I'm happy to say that we can also do this in DocuSign. So let's see if I can remember how to do that. Okay, so you click Actions, and then you're going to click Add Folder here. So I like my own personal preference. I like to have these 3 folders: not for review, contract docs, and then listing or buyer docs. So I would just do one not for review. So that would be to kind of organize all the documents into there that aren't going to need to be reviewed by the compliance team. Then I would do to contract docs, and then you can just do a 3rd one. Again, this is just how I do it. My transaction coordinator gave me this tip: buyer documents. And now we're able to kind of move them around and organize it based on whatever folder we want these documents in. So I like to do it that way to just kind of help keep things organized, okay? So that brings us to the last tip I'd like to share with you, which is our DocuSign Resource Center. So if anything that I said today, maybe you missed it, or maybe it just didn't make sense, or maybe I skipped something that you wanted to go over, this is kind of like your one-stop shop for everything you'd ever want to know about using DocuSign and Command and everything. So I encourage you to go to this page. I will share it in the chat box here. Oh, I just realized I've been doing a private message for yellow. I do not know how that happened. Okay, sorry about that. I sent that to everyone. So now that link is going to take you to the page that I put together here. And really what I would recommend doing is watching steps 1, 2, 3, and 4, all right? These are just simple videos to watch. They're really quick. And then the 4th video is the longer one, and this goes in depth about really everything I already went over here today, but he just goes through it in a very clear way, and it should give you everything you'd ever want to know about how to use DocuSign. There's a little bonus video here. Or if you're more of a reader, you can read these full complete step-by-step guides for DocuSign. We have a bunch of additional resources here and some download links to get DocuSign on your phone as well. So this is really the best resource for y'all to use to really just understand everything there is to know about DocuSign. And as always, I'm always going to be here and happy to help if anyone does have any questions that comes up along the way. Okay. So hopefully that gives you a better idea of how to get the most out of all of this. And I'd be happy to go over any questions anyone has at this point. We'll still have a few minutes before the hour is up. So anybody have any questions? And I'm not hearing anyone right now. So if you're talking, you're still muted. All right. Looks like we're good to go here. Well, thank you all for joining. Again, definitely feel free to reach out anytime. I'm always happy to help. And I'll see you next time. Bye. Oh, looks like there was a question that just came in. Oh, a couple questions just came in. Perfect. Does DocuSign notify us when the documents are signed? Yes, it does. So let me show you this real quick. If I go to my KW email, look at all of these emails that came in as I was going through this presentation. Fake name viewed this document. Mickey Mouse viewed it. Then the document was completed. Your document has been, all signers completed it. The electronically signed documents, along with the signed certification, have been added to the room. So it really keeps you up to date along the way of exactly what's happening in a given room with all of the people that are signing things. How do we print the documents? Okay, so in order to print the documents, we would go into DocuSign. We'd select the one that we want. So let's go to the signed one. Let's say we wanted to print this signed version. Well, we're going to select it. And just as you see these options on the top, we can either copy it, we can move it, we can email it, we can DocuSign it, we can download it, archive or unarchive. You're just going to want to download it. You can download that. It'll come in as a PDF. And now you're able to just print. You can just print that PDF. Okay, so that's pretty much all there is to it. Oh, I'm sorry about that. I wasn't sharing my screen. I'll share my screen again. Sorry about that. I'll walk through that real quick again. So I'm just selecting the document. And then we have copy, move, email, DocuSign, download, archive, and unarchive. So I'm working off of this signed document that I have in the room here. I'm just going to click this down arrow. I've selected it. I'm going to click download, download. And now that I have this PDF on my computer, I can do whatever I want with it. So now this is downloaded and I can just print it on my computer if I wanted to. Click print. So that's how that would work. All right, let me pull up the chat room again. Where did the chat room go? Okay, so that was that question. I see Letitia's asked, can we add an email address to get notifications on more than one email address? Can we add an email address to get notifications on more than one?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, so in Dotloop, Amy gets all the notifications when people are signed. So I was just wondering if it can get sent to my email as well, so I can see when people are signing.
That's a good question. Let me see. Let's see if maybe, is there more than one?
When somebody is signed.
What was that?
It's helpful for me to know when people have signed.
No, I definitely hear you. I'm not sure if you can do that. I'd like to think there's some kind of way. Preferences. Same thing. All right, what about manage profile maybe? Maybe we can add more than one email address. Oh, what just happened? Ay, ay, ay. Why is it making me do this now? It's looking like we're only able to have one email address associated with a given DocuSign account, probably for security reasons. But what I'm thinking is we might be able to create a rule in your Gmail account to forward any DocuSign emails to another email, if that makes sense.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I hadn't
So
thought.
yeah, so just kind of a out of the box way of doing it. It's probably, they probably don't want people doing it, because again, as I go into this deeper, I'm realizing I don't think you can do that, because they probably don't want you to do it. These emails that are sent out are like relatively secure, and it's only meant to go to the owner of that room. But if you want to maybe schedule a different time, we can chat more about setting up something like that. Okay.
Okay, then I had my other question was kind of up in the chat. Is there a way for us to get a copy of that flow chart that you were looking at?
You mean this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see
Is there a
here.
way?
Yeah, I'm
Email?
sure there's a way we can share this.
Because that was super awesome with all of the breakdowns and stuff on it.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'm glad you, honestly, that's just kind of like the way my mind works. I like to use these quote unquote mind maps, they're called, to walk through things, because I feel like it's more intuitive to kind of look at it like this. So I'm glad
Where'd you make that?
What was that?
Where did you make that chart?
It's called mindmeister.com. Mindmeister.com. Yeah, I've used this for years. It's definitely a good one. Oh, here it is, share. So there should be copy link to share. Here we go. So I don't know why it keeps defaulting in the chat room. I try and send things to everyone, and it keeps defaulting to send it to yellow, it's called. I don't even know what that means. I guess someone who signed on, their name was yellow, and it keeps defaulting to send it to that person. Okay, so I just sent the link to this whole flow chart in the chat room.
Okay.
Stephen,
sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think Stephen was asking if I could share that with him. So I just sent it in the chat room. So now everybody should be able to just click that link, and you'll be able to get to this.
So maybe you covered it, and I apologize if you did. I had a couple interruptions while I was listening. If we need to make a file correction on a document that's already been signed, how do we do that?
Yeah, no, so that's a really good question.
Did you go over it already?
Yep, so here's what I want to say about that. So if compliance rejects any of the documents, then what you're going to want to do is go back into DocuSign and then copy the document into the same room. And then you can just have the clients DocuSign it again, or you can make whatever edits you need on that document and then have them sign it again. And then you can just go back under the opportunity record in command and replace the incorrect document that compliance rejected. Oh, okay. Okay, that makes sense. Does that make sense? Because I can walk through that real quick if you'd like, but that's the best way to handle that, in my opinion, at least. All right, cool.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right, Stephen, you said it gives you a place to text to another. I'm not sure what you mean by that. I mean, if you can unmute yourself too, if that might be easier.
Yeah, it gives you to where, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. When you went in the profile, it said where you changed your email address, it had a place where you could text to a phone number. So if Tish wanted to notify, she could put her phone number in there, and then she could be notified when someone signed, separate from Amy.
Oh, so where were you? Are you talking about this bottom part here?
Let me look where you were at. Well, no, when you went into the email address.
Okay.
No, not there. Back when I think when you were hitting notifications.
Here?
Yeah, right there. See? It says email, phone, tablet. You could probably hit.
Yeah, but you're not able to click phone. These are all for whatever reason, they're not able to be selected.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah. No, that's a great point though. I'm glad you brought that up. If we were able to check these, then yeah, I'd like to think we could set it up with a different phone number, and it would have the text go to one person and the email go to another. And DocuSign would think, hey, it's all one person, but
right.
But yeah, for whatever reason, we're not able to select this.
So we can't do tablet or phone then.
For whatever reason, yeah, unfortunately, we're not able to select those. We can only choose email. And again, my guess would be that with DocuSign, I think a lot of the issues folks will run into has to do with just it being so secure. Like DocuSign is super secure, and I would guess that they're like, hey, let's just keep it to emails to prevent any kind of complications from happening. So that would be my guess. But hey, good. I'm glad you pointed that out. Unfortunately, though, I don't think we can do that. Cool. All right. Any other questions?
We're good.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for joining. I will see you around.
You did a good job. We sure appreciate it. It was very easily to understand. You did good.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I tried to just make it nice and concise.
You do good. We appreciate it.
Thank you, man. Appreciate that.
No problem. Have a good day.
You too. All right. Bye.